Meteorologically, summer has begun, and temperatures will increase from today onwards. In addition to the meteorological summer, we can also talk about the arrival of summer on the battle line, meaning that the battlefield will get hotter. It seems that the temperatures has already started to rise in the Russian part of the war. It is not possible to say that the front line is active today, but unlike the front line, the behind the front was quite active. The nightmare that Russia started to see last week is back. The Free Russian Legion is back in Belgorod. Let's analyze the latest activity of the Free Russian Legion inside Russia and the general course of the war with a map. Let us first recall the previous cross-border operation of the Free Russian Legion. In recent weeks, the Legion of Russians fighting on behalf of Ukraine crossed the Russian borders east of Velyka Pysarivka and advanced as far as Grayvoron. This was a distance of about 8 kilometers. This time, the Free Russian Legion launched an offensive north of Kharkiv. The direction of these operations was Shebekino, about 30 kilometers southeast of Belgorod city center. As you may recall, there have been explosions at these points for some time. For some points, the Shebekino point was hit by artillery shelling from the Ukrainian border. Most of this shelling was carried out by MLRS. During this shelling, very important buildings in the area, which were in use by the Russian army, were hit. Before the buildings were hit, Russian artillery batteries stationed south of Shebekino were hit. This ensured the safety of the Free Russian Legion troops entering the area. Then, the artillery attacks on the buildings in the city began. One of the Russian police stations in the city was hit. After the police station was hit, panic broke out among the employees of public buildings in the area. According to local sources, public buildings in Shebekino were evacuated and important documents were destroyed. The attacks in Shebekino were not limited to this. An active factory in the city was also hit by artillery fire. This factory was a high-tech complex. We have no official data on the damage in the area. However, local sources say that production at the factory has been halted. The Belgorod regional governor issued a statement denying allegations that Free Russian Legion had entered the Belgorod region. Although the governor claimed that these allegations were made by only to create fear, according to Russian press, the Free Russian Legion was in Belgorod Oblast at the time of these statements. According to Russian media, the Free Russian Legion was fighting with local Russian troops in Novaya Tovolzhanka, about 8 kilometers southwest of Shebekino. So far, there is no official data on how far the Free Russian Legion has advanced. However, judging by claims of Russian sources, Free Russian Legion's goal is to advance to Shebekino. However, before Shebekino, it is necessary to dominate the surrounding cities. Novaya Tovolzhanka is one of these cities. Assuming that units of Free Russian Legion have entered the city, we can say that Free Russian Legion has been within Russia's borders for about 5 kilometers so far. There are many reports of the Free Russian Legion entering Belgorod. However, various reports about Bryansk also claims that the Free Russian Legion has launched an operation in this region by crossing the border. When we look at the map, we see that Belgorod and Bryansk are two regions that are quite far away from each other. Local sources claim that some units of the Free Russian Legion are moving in the directions of Belaya, Beryoska, and Pogar. However, as we mentioned, the information in this region has not yet been confirmed. Kursk, located in northeastern Ukraine, is another location within Russian borders where the war seems to have spilled over. Local sources state that there have been many explosions in the city center of Kursk in recent days. Russian control centers are also among the points where these explosions took place. Local sources also claim that Russian partisans groups are behind the increased activity in this region. Russian experts say that the attacks carried out by the Free Russian Legion inside Russia are encouraging anti-Putin Russians. In the last part of this report on the developments within Russia, we will focus on Moscow. As you know, Moscow, the capital of Russia, has been shaken by explosion news for a long time. In addition, unidentified drones were also increasing this tremor even more. In the past days, there was a development that increased the panic in the city even more. These developments was a major arson attack. As you can see on the map, Nogisk, a point of east of Moscow, is the intersection point of many highways. In this city, an arson attack was carried out against 37 parked minibuses. The preparators are alleged to be Russian partisans. The intended use of the vans has not yet been revealed. Let's go back to our main front line. As we mentioned at the beginning of our report, there are no significant changes on the front line. Let's start analyzing the front line with Bakhmut. We had stated that the Wagner group would withdraw from Bakhmut, and this withdrawal has finally happened. Wagner's mercenaries left their positions in the city center and left the front line. With Wagner's departure, Chechen troops loyal to Chechen leader Ramazan Kadyrov began to dispatch to this region. While this relocation is taking place in the center of Bakhmut, the Ukrainian army continues to conduct operations on the flanks. Let's take a look at the north of Bakhmut on the map. There are two very strategic roads here, M03 and TO513 highways. On these two roads, the Russian army was trying to hold the front line by making regular deliveries. Recently, an extraordinary development took place during one such Russian shipments. Ukrainian special forces on the flanks struck the Russian military convoy. With the attack of Ukrainian troops, the shipment was stopped. The content of the delivery trucks is of great importance for the future of Bakhmut. The convoy was carrying only the ammunition needed on the front line. Most of the ammunition needed by the Russian army was destroyed with this attack. The Ukrainian army, which will launch the operation to liberate the region after Wagner's withdrawal, struck a major blow to the Russian troops on the front line by hitting this convoy. Another important point is Polohi. It was actually one of the points in the city that had a very calm process since the beginning of the war. Therefore, the Russian army considered many points in this city safe. There were many ammunition and weapons depots belonging to the Russian army in this city. In recent days, we have seen increased activity in the city. Information about the explosions in the city in the past days was shared by the regional governor. According to the latest statements made by the regional governor, the explosions in the city continues. It is quite remarkable that the points where these explosions took place are Russian ammunition depots and their surroundings. What do you think? Do you think the Free Russian Legion will continue to advance in Belgorod? Do you think that the Free Russian Legion will carry out an operation in Bryansk? What are the consequences of the deployments of Chechen troops in Bakhmut? We value your views. Please share them with us.